So physical media is dying, but I got some good news for you. I'm still making YouTube videos. Yay, aren't you? That's a good consolation, right? Skip it up and that up. A quick shameless plug. I have two other YouTube channels. One that I live stream from on pretty much a daily basis, especially Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, called RTU Streams. And I have another channel where I upload music that I produce. That'll be below in the description as well. Make sure you check both of them out. They'll also be the top pinned comment. Now back to the video. See, that was fast. That didn't take too much of your time. I'll shut up now. So as a person who truly enjoys physical media, I like the fact when you bought a cartridge back in my day and you would own the game. If I bought Capcom Street Fighter II Special Championship Edition for the Sega Genesis, this is my game. Capcom could go out of business. They could shut down their servers. They could do whatever. I still own this copy of Street Fighter II. I understand games are more complex now. They need patches, much more production value, and it's impossible to have a game on disc be without errors. Okay, I'm trying to find the best way to word it. It's impossible for games with how big they are to be 210% complete on disc, but it is still nice that you could get a physical copy of games, right? Well, that's going to start changing. Best Buy is no longer selling movies. They're still selling games for now. As a matter of fact, Walmart as a whole is going to stop selling physical games in 2024, and it's going to start with Xbox games, to be more specific. So we see it happening. We see the decline of physical media, and we see companies saying it's not worth our time to take up floor space in our stores because people are just playing all the damn games and downloading them digitally. So there's no way around it. I don't like seeing it, but physical media is dying. And there's a couple other things here that I have that are proof. And one article I have is actually another retailer in the UK who's going to stop accepting trade-ins of physical games. And Ubisoft, about their subscription service, said something that's concerning, to put it lightly. Anyway, this comes from Eurogamer.net regarding the UK retailer Game and what they're doing about trade-ins, meaning they're no longer going to have them. This is what the article has to say. This is an update today. Game has now confirmed it will end video game trade-ins as first reported by Eurogamer yesterday. They quote here, this is from BBC News, as part of the integration of Game, we will be phasing out the trade-in, pre-owned, and Game Elite offerings in the UK over the coming months. A spokesperson for the chain's owner Frasier's Group told BBC News. Pre-owned will still be available in our standalone stores across the UK while stock lasts, and Game Elite will still be available until the end of the summer. Now, the reason that this is happening is because there are a lot of game outlets in the Sports Direct store, or stores, they're chains in UK. And because physical media is subsiding and there's less sales, it would be easier for them to no longer take trade-ins. It's a huge undertaking, and since it's not as profitable for them as it used to be, they rather just get rid of taking physical trade-ins altogether, and that's exactly what they're doing. Now, Game is similar to GameStop. The same thing, you could trade in games and use them for credit towards other games. That used to be the bread and butter of GameStop at one time. If you remember, during the 7th generation especially, GameStop seemed like an unstoppable force. And a lot of the biggest earner for them was taking trade-ins, because they'd give you virtually nothing even for a new game. And then say it was an actual new game. Okay, this is back when games were $60, which now they're $70 for reasons. So you would go and buy a game, say you played it, you beat it in a week, and you're like, I'm going to trade this in. It's a new game. I'll get money back, right? Or I'll get a trade-in back, right? Decent trade-in, so I could buy something different there. No. They give you like $25. And the best thing is they would sell that new game that just came out that you may have traded in for like $5 cheaper than brand new. And the way they would incentivize you to get the used version of the game as opposed to the new one, even though it was only $5 cheaper, is that you could return it. And the reason why it was worth risking you returning it is because the profit margin on the used games is so much bigger than the profit margin on games that are new. Because if they're taking the game back from you and only giving you a $25 credit, then they're flipping it for $55 before tax. Do the math. But those days are long gone. So we're talking about what Walmart's doing, that they're phasing out physical media. Best Buy is phasing out physical movies. Okay, now they're saying that games will remain for now, but for now was their phrasing. Famous last words. Now, Ubisoft wants you to get very comfortable with something with their subscription service. They want you to get comfortable with not owning your games. That's a real good way to sell it, Ubisoft. Now, Ubisoft has a bunch of different names for stuff. They like to rebrand crap. So here's some of them. Uplay, I know that's the launcher for PC. Ubisoft Games Launcher, Ubisoft Connect, Uplay Plus, Uplay Passport, Ubisoft Club, and now Ubisoft Plus Premium and Ubisoft Plus Classics. I can't even... Why? That's so confusing. Why would you have so... Oh my God. Anyway, those are names they've used on and off through the past decade, and it just confuses people, but whatever. But here's what Ubisoft's director of subscriptions, Philippe Tremblay, had to say about what he wants customers or consumers to get used to. Now, keep in mind, it's kind of something that's starting to fall apart. You even see it with like different services that tried to compete with Steam. Like EA had Origin, and now they let their games be on Steam. You had Call of Duty is now back on Steam. You could buy it and play it there. And with movie streaming services, a lot of places wanted to have their own. I mean, some of them like Paramount Plus is successful and many others, but those have also whittled down too, because like I've said before, if every single publisher wants, oh, it's only $15 a month to have access to our entire catalog of games. But yeah, that's just your catalog of games. What happens if there's only 2 games a year, Ubisoft, which would be generous, that I want to play from you? So I got to spend $15. And that if there's games from Capcom, if there's games from Activision, if there's games from Konami, maybe, and they all have their own services, that adds up. Whereas if you have something like Xbox Game Pass or whatever, PlayStation Plus, whatever the hell they are now, granted they're not as much of a good deal, but you have access to games from various publishers and developers. So it's like, okay, yeah, I'm paying 15 or whatever price a month, depending on the service, but it's a plethora of games from different developers, so I have different flavors and different experiences. Ubisoft is just offering their games. And you know what they want you to get used to? I'll have Philippe Tremblay, maybe that's the right way to say it, tell you what he wants you, the consumer, to get used to. It ties into physical media dying. This is why I'm concerned and don't want physical media to die. This is what he had to say. One of the things we saw is that gamers are used to, a little bit like DVD, having it and owning their games. That's the consumer shift that needs to happen. They get comfortable not owning their CD collection or DVD collection. That's a transformation that's been a bit slower to happen in games. As gamers grow comfortable in that aspect, you don't lose your progress. If you resume your game at another time, your progress file is still there. That's not been deleted. You don't lose what you've built in the game or your engagement with the game. So it's about feeling comfortable with not owning the game. Now, the reason why Tremblay is getting ballsy with saying, hey, you don't need to own your games, is because in October 2023, Ubisoft subscription service made them a killing. They had millions of subscribers and over 500 million hours played. See? And so they're like, hey, if we could keep pushing this and get people used to not owning their games, we'll make tons of money. But here's the problem with that. If people want to go back and play these games years upon years later and Ubisoft ceases to exist, which Could very well happen. A developer or publisher can be here today and gone tomorrow. We realize that. We've seen it a billion times. Where do those games go? What happens if people want to play those games 10 years down the line and Ubisoft ceases to exist? I always think of fear. Fear is in like IP, intellectual property limbo, one of my favorite first-person shooters, but I could still download it. I have access to it. I even have a DVD of that game. I do. Have a physical copy of a PC game somewhere. Don't know where the hell it is, but I do have it. But Ubisoft, they don't want you to own if you have a favorite game. If they go out of business, then that sucks for you. You'll just have to buy it somewhere else, or if a company buys their IPs, they'll remaster it and resell it to you, because that's what people want to do. They want to rebuy the same game over and over and over again. Actually, sales figures do show that, but it is still a terrible practice nonetheless from developers and publishers. Publishers, actually. The developers are just the hard workers making the games. The publishers just want to profit. You know, as a person who I don't think I've bought a single physical copy, I'm pretty sure, of a game in the 9th generation, I don't want to see this happen. I don't want to see physical media go away. It's not from a collector's standpoint, but $70 or even $16 a month or $18, whatever price, all the prices fluctuate from the different services that each company has. It doesn't take away that I want to own the damn game. If I want to go back, oh, Rich, you'll eventually get sick of the game. Sure, I will. But I may want to go back 10 years later or 5 years or even 2 years later or 6 months later and play it again. What happens if a company ceases to exist? Look at what happened with Google Stadia. Where's that now? So don't say that companies like these, like, oh, don't worry about it. Ubisoft will always be here. Sony will always be here. Microsoft or Nintendo or whatever. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? Okay, this is a subscription service. People will argue, oh, Rich, it's a subscription. You're not paying for the games. You're paying to have access to them. It's different. What about where you buy games? Where you buy the game for $70. Yes, I know in the terms it says you don't own them, but you're paying the full price for the game as if you went to the store and bought a copy. What happens if the servers where you want to download those games cease to exist? Excuse me, let me use proper English. Then what? Look, there's conveniences to digital distribution, and I know we're going slowly and hopefully even slower into a cloud gaming future. I want that to be way down the line. And thankfully, it seems like it's going to be that way. At least with digital distribution, you're downloading the game onto your hardware and playing it and not relying on your internet or the cloud to play a game. But these companies don't want you to own their games. They don't want you. They just want you to sign up and give them money every month, and you will own nothing and you will like it. You won't like it. I'm saying what they're saying. And this to them, they're seeing cha-ching. They're seeing profits. And I hate to say it, I hope it doesn't work out, because this is not good business, and this is taking advantage of the consumer. It's that simple. And I hate, as much as digital distribution is convenient, I hate seeing physical media go away. And I hate seeing companies want to take advantage of the consumer like this. This is Rich of ReviewTechUSA signing out. Have a good one.
What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through.